can go live on now. Good afternoon. This is Chichiro again. Please let me know if you can see me, and let me know if you can also hear me. So today I have a special guest. I have Toniro, and I wanted to discuss relationship with him. I've known him as a friend for 35 years, and as a husband for 30 years. So I wanted to get his own angle, his opinion when it comes to relationships. I wanted him to tell us the best way to cultivate a relationship from a male angle, also from a female angle, because having had a wife for 30 years, he must have an idea what women need. So I want a more balanced conversation. Please feel free to contribute. If you have anything to say, let me know. If you have anything to say in the comments. And welcome. This is Chichiro. So Tony, how do you think it is best to cultivate, or how can one cultivate a healthy relationship, especially when two people from different backgrounds start a relationship? How do they guarantee that they will cultivate something healthy?
At the end of the day, we first introduce, right? Hi, glad to be here with you. This is all new to me. So I'm Chichi's guest, even though we live together, but on this program, I'm her guest, and I'm glad to be here. Good. Now, regarding relationships, right? Again, nobody can pretend to have all the answers or to know everything. We're only going to say or share what has seemed to work for us. So as with everything, I think that to cultivate a good relationship still boils down to the first thing I always say: presence. You have to be present to cultivate anything. So you have to be present to cultivate a relationship. Not so? So you can't cultivate something, or even a garden if you're not there.
No.
So you have to be present to cultivate.
That will just be an intention with nothing to move it to the next level.
Okay, so having been present, you have to come with respect. Because really, again, a lot of times we misunderstand what respect is. Respect doesn't necessarily mean kowtowing to another person or being subservient to another person.
Okay. Respect
simply means giving value, giving honor, sometimes forbearing, all right, for the next person, and actually valuing what you're building together. Again, because respect, I think, is an investment that you make, and if you invest respect, you reap respect. So respect has the worth. It's like a mirror. It has the worth reflecting back to you. So respect.
So coming from Africa, in a place that man is held, in very high regard, and many times people say, "Oh, the man married you. You are supposed to respect him." Is the respect in that context one-sided?
Of course not. A lot of times people mistake patriarchy for African marriage. All right.
Really? What do you mean?
I'll tell you this. Patriarchy wasn't originally the norm for African marriages.
Okay.
Patriarchy was an imposition and something that we adopted without knowing. All right. If you go back and study our original African setup, even just to where our grandmothers and grandfathers were together, each person had their jurisdiction.
Okay.
And each person's jurisdiction was respected. But over time, lines have been blurred, roles have been blurred. Okay.
Please take me back to those days and explain what you mean.
Okay, I'll give you a small example. Okay, So then, all right, there were kind of well-defined roles.
Okay.
All right. Fathers knew what fathers were meant to do.
Okay.
Mothers knew what mothers were meant to do. Daughters knew what daughters were meant to do.
Yeah.
Sons knew what sons were meant to do. Midwives knew what midwives were supposed to do. So basically, everybody knew their roles, and therefore there was nothing. You didn't need to reinvent the wheel. But as time went on and as society changed, all right, roles changed, and people did not really adjust accordingly.
I can understand that working very well in those days because it was more a communal setting.
Good.
And there was, there was a lot of guidance too from people that had more authority and knowledge. So today, when everyone is scattered all over the world,
Blurred
how
lines.
do we, okay?
So blurred lines, roles are no longer as defined as they used to be.
Okay.
So now it becomes, we can no longer genderize roles very strictly.
Yes.
So you cannot say, oh, the man is a breadwinner and therefore, right?
Yeah.
So if, let's say, in a union, the woman is the more gifted one,
Yes.
right, has a better paying job, we're not going to say that she should, out of respect, that will not say, hey, she should forgo her profession
or give up her entire paycheck because
so it doesn't really work. So the things that people fail to adapt and adjust to present reality. Okay.
So where are the areas that you think we can adjust a little bit and still maintain what is fair, equitable, and retain most of what was good about our tradition?
Awareness. Be aware of where you are. Be aware of the times that you're living in.
Okay.
So situational awareness.
Yes.
All right. Again, we live in America. And I say America is a place where Nigerian marriages come to fail.
What do you mean?
Okay. Again, a lot of times, people who are set in their ways come here. They fail to adjust, they fail to adapt,
Okay.
and they want to continue marrying their spouses the way they were married back home.
The way they saw it being done.
Yeah, so maybe a patriarchal man could come in here and say, you know what, you did not work back in Nigeria, therefore you're not going to work here. Big mistake, right? A woman can come in and say, you know what, I didn't work back in Nigeria, why should I work here now? Okay. You know what, in Nigeria, you made money. Why are you not making enough money right now? Okay, you cannot really meet my needs. And things start to, deteriorate. Or I'm a titled man. I cannot go to the kitchen. All right. So people fail to adapt to the times and the place that they live in. It's just give and take. So if people are rigid and they refuse to respect the time and the place that they're in, what I would do.
Okay. So break it down what you think can help in cultivating a good relationship in marriage or courtship, or
two different things. When you're courting, right? You're wanting to attract. You're wanting to get acceptance, right? You're winning somebody over, so you're courting the person. So the rules of the game during courtship are totally different from the rules of the game when you're in maintenance. Marriage is maintenance, right? Okay. So when you're courting somebody, that is where you're kind of trying to, escalate to the next level.
You're being at your best behavior.
Yeah. Then once you get married, it's now for the long haul, right?
Yes.
So that's where you call maintenance phase. People make the mistake of thinking that the maintenance phase is where you lay back and just let things happen. No, you have to be extremely intentional in that maintenance phase. Maintenance phase does not mean that it's now fixed and permanent. Maintenance is also dynamic.
Okay.
Because day in, day out, things change, different circumstances.
People
change. Health might change, career might change, income might change, kids come. All right. So when you have to be very, very adaptable.
True.
A failure to adapt is really an invitation to breaking. And again, just like a bamboo, if a bamboo stick, a bamboo stick is flexible, it bends, right? And then when the time changes, it against that is normal strength. But then if you reach it like a ruler, it breaks. Okay, so you have to be very, very adaptable, flexible, and honestly, you have to be constantly curious about who you're with.
Explain that.
Because again, if you refuse to be curious, and this is Snoop, curious, meaning be observant, be consciously observant
of who you're with,
and
the
changes, right?
Yeah.
Good. So now, if you're not observant and you're not consciously learning the person you're with, you wake up one day and you're living with a stranger.
Wow.
Because you've really failed to recognize that, hey,
okay,
this person's language is changing.
Yes.
This person's interests are changing.
Yes.
This person's attention to certain things are changing. All right, is this person becoming more intellectual, and then you're still stuck in your ways of watching Nollywood? I'm not saying Nollywood is bad. All right.
Don't go there.
No, I'm just saying.
Yes.
So if you fail to grow at the rate at which your spouse is growing, then there definitely is a lack of observation.
Okay, what if you fail to grow in the relationship phase? What do you suggest you should do at that point?
How do you mean?
So let's say during your relationship phase, there are things that you are not compatible.
Then don't get into it in the first place.
So it's a deal breaker.
About mission. See, if you notice that you and somebody, right, never ever think that an adult is going to change midstream. No, they really don't change for you.
So it's whatever you saw at that time.
Going to be
if you decide to go into marriage,
right,
whatever you saw is what you're going to keep.
Start as you want to continue.
What if during courtship the person showed you some things that were not exactly true? What if during courtship he appeared very kind and nice and compassionate?
Remember, we said we have to be intentionally observant.
Okay.
Because a lot of people in courtship bring their masquerade face on.
Okay.
Right. So everybody is there putting on, their most beautiful behavior, most beautiful face. You don't go on a date without putting on your wig and putting on your makeup and powdering your face.
You mean,
no, seriously. Even now.
Are you giving out my secrets?
Okay, good. So now
I can go on a date without makeup. Actually,
a lot of people are behavioral catfishes, right?
Yes.
So they behave one way to you, and then once they get you, then their real face comes out. So you want to make sure that you are intentionally, consciously observant.
So do you advocate for courtship, longer courtship, so that you can observe the person that you want to go into a permanent relationship
I'll say structured courtship.
What do you mean? What's the difference?
Because again, you can have a long courtship, and if you are really not, again, investigating the person, you are still on the surface level.
Okay. 2
years down the road, still surface level.
Okay.
3 years down the road, still surface level.
Okay.
But if you structured and intentional, structured in the sense that, you know what, all right, now I want to know who you are, right? I'd like to know what your aspirations are. If you want to find out how does this person relate to the next person, does this person have compassion? Does this person have hospitality in their gene? If you're somebody who loves family, is this person family oriented, right? If you're somebody who wants to go into ministry down the road, does this person is this person accepting of that calling?
Okay.
All right, and those are things, there are signs that you can see from the very beginning that should tip you off.
Okay.
But a lot of times, if we're enamored by beauty, by sex, by enjoyment, we could actually miss those signs and then we get trapped into a situation that hinders us.
Okay.
So again, you have to be present, you have to be respectful, you have to be observant.
Okay.
Right? So again, those are the pros, right? Yeah, that's good. You have to be present, you have to be respectful, you have to be observant.
Okay.
All right. So with those, you now make a decision. You have to make a decision. Don't let the decision. Don't be the decision.
Explain.
Okay. Now you have to be the one deciding.
Okay.
Right? Not be the one that has been decided upon.
Okay.
Because if you're not intentional in what you're looking for, all right, somebody is going to generally, now take you, subsume you into his or her own design, and they now become like an adornment along the way, not necessarily a partner, but somebody to show, okay, I get wife, I get husband, and then that's it. Okay. So you're a wino, wife in name only, or a hino, husband in name only. Okay. Okay. So instead of forging a partnership, right, you now become an acquisition instead of a partner. Okay. And
somebody else acquired you based on their own
designs, based on their own designs, but they've already designed what they want. I want to make sure that I'm not a single woman when I'm at a certain age, so they go all out and then snare you. And if you're not careful, if you're not watching, you miss out on the telltale signs of seduction, of ensnarement, of manipulation, right, of subjugation. All these are big words, but those are very, very meaningful words, right? So if you're not careful, you miss all that. There are people who have been in 6-year relationships, and every so often there is drama, right? But because of makeup sex, right? Once there's makeup sex, woo, everything is forgotten.
But doesn't that work?
Hey, like I said, it can be Samson. Right? It can be Samson, and you know what? Keep going on to one day your locks are shaved off of your head. Right? Good. And we're being real here, right? Yeah. Okay, good. A lot of people, remember we have this friend that, one time she said, but the sex is good. Yeah. Right? And this person in a very, very abusive relationship. Yeah. At the end of the day, but the sex is good. So you focus on the wrongest thing, on pleasure, rather than purpose.
So, talking about sex, what about sexual compatibility?
Extremely important. You cannot, you can't compromise on. You should, or let me say, you should not compromise on that. All right, you should not compromise on that. I'll say this: if you want babies, you better be doing it. So if you now say, the reason why people actually get married, for a lot of people, the reason why a lot of people get married, right? Yeah. Companionship. Yeah. Sexual gratification. Social status, right? Because there's some places that if you're not married, you're not considered yourself, or that's not playful, right? Good. So each of those you have to be mindful of that. So if you're with a guy that you notice that, man, it's like pulling teeth to get him in the mood. That's a no-no. And if you have a high libido, it's a no-no. There's a mismatch. Okay. So better run. Okay. And I'm dead serious. And again, and I'm not one of those people that believes in we're going to wait until we get married. No, at all. I don't believe it. But again, to each their own. Okay. So because look, if that is missing, oh my goodness, it's torture. And that goes both ways. So you have to meet somebody that matches your sexual energy. If that is missing, it is torture.
But okay, how do you handle that particular condition as the relationship grows? Because people also change in that area.
Yeah, we have to weigh our expectations.